I promised this year I'd be getting a couple of additions to the garage, and in this week's video I will show you the first buy of the year. This Skoda Fabia first generation vRS SE. And in this video I'm going to take you through why I bought it and why I think this might be the black sheep of the family and potentially a good purchase for the future. Let's find out. Welcome to this week's Fast and Fun. So this first generation Skoda Fabia vRS, built between 2002 and 2007. And in 2007, the last 999 came out in this blue colour. There were special editions called the SE model, and I'll talk about what that spec came with later. But the Fabia vRS, it was a left field choice because it came with a diesel unit and it was competing against some pretty hot rivals during the mid-2000s. But it wasn't the first time any manufacturer had used diesel to power a hot hatch. Peugeot had tried it in the 90s with the 306 DT, the diesel turbo, and Skoda had a go, as I say, in the 2000s with this, the Fabia vRS. Incidentally, VRS stands for Victor Rally Sport. Only in the UK they're called VRS. Globally, they're called RS for Rally Sport. That's what Skoda wanted, but Ford had an issue with the RS. They had linked their RS into Rally Sport, and there was all sorts of legal wranglings going on during the early 2000s, and Skoda had to put the V for Victor or Victory ahead of the RS, and that's why the V is only small, whereas the RS is capitals, because actually they wanted it to become the RS model and not the VRS. But this is what was born. Later generations of the Fabia, they went to petrol, smaller capacity, 1.4 petrol with flappy pedal gearbox, and it was very, very muted, and they're not particularly well liked. It was these Gen 1 VRS, as I say, with a diesel unit at the front, and they've become, as I say, they've become now quite a desirable type of car because they are so cheap to buy. I mean, these are super, super cheap. I've probably paid too much for this one because it's in pretty good condition, but you can pick these up for literally less than £1,000 if you look hard and you're happy with a bit of wear and tear, and the diesel units are so, so reliable. But why did I buy it? So my criteria for this daily car was relatively simple. I wanted it to be cheap to buy. Cheap's subjective, so I probably put a 5k limit. What could I buy for 5k and no more? The second criteria is I wanted it to be economical. I wanted it to be able to return good MPG, and I set the benchmark at 40. Incidentally, this should do over 50. And then the third criteria was performance. It had to offer something that was at least respectable. And I think this is the key to the VRS, because it's that daily performance, low in the revs, where this diesel PD130 really scores. Why specifically? And they were my criteria. That led me down to this. And also because my youngest son, Archie, also wants a VRS as well. So he helped me, guide me towards this first gen Fabia. But why this car? Well, 4 reasons really. First of all, no previous owners. What do you mean? Well, I mean that actually the people that I bought this off had bought it new some 16 years ago. And that is unusual for any car, but especially a Fabia vRS. Second reason, it was unmodified. It is completely factory standard as it left the factory back in 2007. Now that is even more unique, because these cars love to be modified, and the young guys and girls that buy these love to modify them. So a standard one is rare, no previous owners, and standard. And then the third one is it only has 114,000 miles on the clock. Now some of you may be going, Rich, that's over 100,000, that's not low mileage. Well, I'd argue for the PD130, that's pretty low mileage. Many of these on the forums, on the intranet, are going with 150, 200,000 is probably the norm. And I would say 114 for these is low. And then the final one was, it was the run-out model. It was the special edition. And when it comes to values and holding values, it tends to be the first or last of. Well, this was the last of the first generation, limited to only 999 cars. This one's number 429. And I just think if any of the Fabias, vRS first gens, are going to hold the money well, it's going to be the special editions. And again, my final comment was the condition. Because actually, as far as a Fabia goes, this car is in amazing condition. First of all, let me show you, what does the special edition mean on the vRS? So the special editions offered 6 things different to the standard vRS. First of all, it was the blue colour. So only available for any car. This is an SE. And I do think it is, being slightly biased, the best colour for any vRS. Second one is the tinted out windows at the rear, just darkened windows, if you can see on that. And from externally, the third thing was the red calipers, which is just a little nice signatory touch from Skoda. Inside the car, there was another 3 things. One was a multi-stack CD changer, which is actually located under the passenger seat. The second one was cruise control. But for me, the most important change was the seats. Because instead of the panda-coloured black and white cloth seats of the vRS, which, to be fair, are a bit of a letdown, the SE came with full leather seats. And each of the seats has got its own number embossed within the leather. And they say this is number 429 of the 999. But core to the vRS is, without any shadow of a doubt, the engine. So this 1.9 litre PD130 produces, yes, 130 brake horsepower. And I know a lot of you will be thinking, really, is that all it produces? But the truth be told, it is not the bhp, but it's the torque, which is the pulling power and the acceleration that you feel. That has got 230 pound-foot of torque. And that gives this in-gear, low-down pull that is actually really, really quick for everyday practicable use. And the best thing with these engines is that they're not only reliable, but they're super durable as well. And these engines can do big miles. And why do the young guns like them? Well, the main reason is because they're so tunable. Lots of videos from lots of tuning companies that modify these to silly power. But just a simple remap alone, without touching anything, can up the power from 130 to between 160 and 170 bhp. But the torque then jumps up to 290 to 300 pound-foot of torque. That is almost the same as my Impreza WRX STI ProDrive Performance Pack. It's almost the same torque, just with a simple few £100 remap. That is why people are starting to like these. They're cheap, they're reliable, and they're highly tunable. But it's not all good news. There are some issues with the car. First of all, not so much an issue, but what is needed. Needs a service, and it needs the cam belt. The cam belt on these, not difficult to do, but it's still going to cost you probably £450 to get the cam belt done, and it needs a service. And both are due. The cam belt on these, I think, are every 4 years. So, but I think it was done in 2018, so it's probably 5 years since the cam belt was done. So get the cam belt done, get a service. Probably looking all up, probably about £600 I've budgeted for both those. Some of the things on the car itself, alloy wheels, not great. They really need a full refurb and respray. And also on the driver's side, on the lumbar support, there's a bit of a tear and some wear on as you get in and out. Again, to be expected after 16 years. So whether I get that done or not, I'm going to get a few quotes to see if I can, because it would just lift it up. It's the one bit that lets it down. So they're the things that I am in control of. The only other thing to consider with these Fabia vRSs is ULEZ compliance, so the ultra low emission zone, which many of the cities are now using. These are not ULEZ compliant. So if you live in the big cities, that's going to affect you owning one of these, because you can't go in unless you pay the £12.50 or £15 a day, whatever it is, congestion charge. Doesn't affect me. Try to avoid cities at all costs. But again, it's something, if you do live in one of the big cities, be aware of. So there we go. That is my new car into the garage. Really pleased to say it's not perfect. I've probably paid double what you can get them for, £1,000 to £2,000 VRSs. You can even go lower than that, actually. I've paid almost double that for this one, but it is a special edition. It is, I think, as far as VRS are concerned, in really, really good condition. Going to use it, daily it, see what it's like, and then once I've got used to it, I'll do another video in a month or so's time and give you my initial views on what it's like to drive, because I can't but compare this to my Clio 182. And although the Clio 182 it just looks like it's lower, it's wider, it's squatter, it's all about the driving. This doesn't. It's a higher, it's narrow bodied, it all looks a bit, well, doesn't look very hot really, it looks like lukewarm. But I have to say, don't underestimate that diesel unit. And I know it's diesel, I know you're not going to get the high revving power that you can get from a petrol engine like the Clio 182, but that low down torque, that pound-foot of torque that you get, even as standard, in 230 pound-foot of torque as standard, that everyday acceleration from sort of 2 to 4,000, that's where you'll find yourself most of the time. It's offers a really compelling case as a daily driver. Okay, there we go. New car to the garage, bit more content. Hope you enjoyed it. Give me your views and thoughts on what you think of this Fabia VRS. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Looks wise, I'm a bit not sure myself, so please put your comments below. Tell me what you think. Any advice? Do I modify it? Do I remap it first? Do I keep it standard? Drop your comments, drop your thoughts, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget, please subscribe if you haven't, and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the content. Speak to you later. Thank you.